Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today we bring you one of those stories that reminds us that modern cycling is not only decided on the road, but also in the details surrounding preparation. And when those details fail, the consequences can be explosive, especially when the rider involved is Remco Evenepoel. Evenepoel is known for many things: his talent, his ambition, his intensity. But above all, he is known for wanting everything under control. Every training block, every camp, every logistical decision. For Remco, preparation is sacred, and with the first major confrontation of the season approaching, any disruption becomes unacceptable. The Belgian is building his early season around one clear objective: arriving in peak condition for the UAE Tour, the first real test of strength among the world's top riders. This is not just another February race. It is the first moment where hierarchy begins to take shape, where messages are sent, where leaders are established. Evenepoel knows exactly who will be waiting for him there. Jonas Vingegaard, the pure climber, relentless when the climbs become long. Isaac Del Toro, the rising talent whose rapid progression is starting to pressure the established stars. And of course others who define this era, such as Mathieu van der Poel, always capable of reshaping any race. In that context, preparation is not optional. It is everything. Remco wants to arrive without excuses, without doubts, with the confidence that every variable has been accounted for, which is why the events surrounding his altitude training camp have caused such a strong reaction. According to Belgian media, Evenepoel was furious after discovering a serious organisational mistake during his high-altitude camp on Teide, an error that placed him in conditions inferior to what he expects as team leader. And for a rider who measures success through precision, this was more than an inconvenience. It was a warning sign. This incident comes at a delicate moment: a new team, a new project, and expectations of flawless execution. When a structure as powerful as Red Bull Bora hansgrohe makes a mistake of this nature, it raises uncomfortable questions. Because for Remco Evenepoel, details are not details. They are the foundation of dominance. And when that foundation cracks, the reaction is immediate. To understand the scale of Remco Evenepoel's reaction, you first need to understand the rider himself. Evenepoel is not a cyclist who leaves things to chance. He is obsessive about preparation. He wants to know where he sleeps, how he recovers, how he trains, and why every decision is made. For him, control is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Throughout his career, Evenepoel has built his success on structure and clarity. He needs to feel that everything around him is aligned with his ambitions. When that alignment breaks, frustration follows quickly. Not because he lacks adaptability, but because he believes that at the highest level, excellence is non-negotiable. This season, that mentality is stronger than ever. Remco is not easing into the year. He is targeting an early statement. The UAE Tour represents the first real battlefield of the season. A race where the biggest names finally collide, where form is exposed, where narratives begin. For Evenepoel, the UAE Tour is not about kilometres or race rhythm. It is about authority. He wants to show, from the very start, that he belongs at the very top, that he can dictate terms, that he can look rivals in the eye and not blink. And he knows exactly who those rivals are. Jonas Vingegaard, a rider built for long climbs and relentless pressure, and Isaac Del Toro, whose rapid rise has changed the dynamic of the peloton. Del Toro brings unpredictability, freshness, and fearlessness, a dangerous combination for established leaders. Remco is fully aware that a bad performance there would not just mean lost time, it would mean lost momentum. It would mean starting the season on the back foot, surrounded by questions. That is why every training block matters, every altitude camp matters, every detail matters. This explains why the organisational error struck such a nerve. It was not just about accommodation. It was about trust, about whether the project around him is capable of matching his level of commitment. Evenepoel wants to arrive at the UAE Tour knowing that nothing has been left undone. Because in his mind, you cannot dominate the road if you do not first dominate your preparation. The anger of Remco Evenepoel cannot be separated from the nature of the mistake itself. This was not a minor inconvenience or an unavoidable complication. It was a basic organisational failure, and that is what makes it so difficult to justify. especially when it involves a structure as powerful and well-funded as Red Bull Bora hansgrohe. The issue emerged during a high-altitude training camp on Teide, one of the most important locations in professional cycling for altitude preparation. For riders targeting peak performance, Teide is not just another training destination. It is a controlled environment where altitude, recovery, logistics, and daily routine are all part of the training process. According to reports, a failure to meet booking deadlines meant that Evenepoel and another team leader were unable to stay at the team's usual hotel. Instead, they were placed in an apartment located lower in altitude and less suitable for elite-level preparation. This also required additional travel by car for meals and recovery treatments. In modern cycling, that is not a small detail. It directly affects training quality and recovery efficiency. What makes the situation more uncomfortable is the contrast with expectations. Only weeks earlier, Evenepoel had publicly praised Red Bull's organisation, highlighting what he believed was a major upgrade compared to his former team, Soudal Quick-Step. He spoke about better planning, earlier reservations, and a more structured approach to training camps. Those comments now feel awkward, not because they were dishonest, but because this first major test of organisation did not match the promise. The narrative of a perfectly managed, detail-oriented project was suddenly undermined by a mistake that Evenepoel associates with lower-level structures. For a rider who left Quick-Step partly in search of greater professionalism, this comparison cuts deep. He accepted flexibility and improvisation in the past because that was the known reality. What he did not expect was to encounter similar issues in a project built on the idea of excellence. This is why the reaction has been so strong. Evenepoel does not see this as bad luck. He sees it as a failure of standards. And when a leader begins to question standards, the conversation quickly moves beyond logistics and into trust, credibility, and long-term confidence in the project. For Red Bull, the message is clear. Talent alone is not enough. Resources alone are not enough. When you commit to building around a superstar, there is no room for basic errors. The consequences of this situation go far beyond a poorly organised training camp. When a rider like Remco Evenepoel reacts this strongly, the message is not only internal, it is a clear warning for the future, a line drawn in the sand about what he expects and what he will no longer tolerate. According to Belgian media, Evenepoel's frustration reached a point where he openly stated that if a similar mistake were to happen again, he would refuse to attend future altitude training camps. In modern professional cycling, that is a powerful statement. Altitude camps are a cornerstone of preparation for grand tours and key objectives. Threatening to step away from them is not emotional exaggeration. It is a strategic warning. For Red Bull Bora hansgrohe, this creates immediate pressure. Managing a superstar is not only about giving him freedom on the road, it is about providing an environment where confidence is never questioned, where the rider feels protected by structure, not exposed by mistakes. Evenepoel's relationship with preparation is deeply personal. He does not separate physical readiness from mental stability. When trust in the system weakens, focus suffers. And at the level he operates, even a small loss of confidence can have consequences against rivals who arrive perfectly aligned. This is why the warning matters. It forces Red Bull to respond, not with words, but with actions, to review protocols, to double-check planning, to ensure that the next training camps are flawless. Because for Remco, this was not an isolated incident. It was a signal that something essential failed. The episode also reshapes internal dynamics. Evenepoel has asserted his leadership clearly. He has made his standards visible. From now on, every logistical decision will be measured against this moment. Every detail will be scrutinised more closely. This is not a crisis yet, but it is a turning point, one that will define how the project evolves from here. Red Bull now understands that excellence is not optional when dealing with a rider who demands absolute precision. And Remco has made it clear that his ambition leaves no room for repeated errors. The warning has been delivered. What happens next will define the strength of the partnership. From this point forward, everything suggests that Red Bull Bora hansgrohe will proceed with extreme caution. This first major mistake has acted as a wake-up call inside the organisation. When you build a project around a rider like Remco Evenepoel, there is no margin for improvisation. Every detail matters. Every decision carries weight, and every error is amplified. What this episode truly confirms is how seriously Evenepoel approaches his career. His preparation is not routine, it is deliberate, calculated, strategic. He does not view his race calendar as a list of obligations, but as a sequence of carefully chosen moments where he wants to make an impact. Each race has a purpose. Each training block has a clear objective. Remco wants to make a statement early. He wants to show authority from the beginning of the season, not wait for others to define the narrative. That ambition explains why the smallest disruption can feel like a major threat, because in his mind, dominance is built long before race day. He also knows exactly who he is up against. Tadej Pogacar, the most complete rider of his generation, capable of winning anywhere. Jonas Vingegaard, relentless and devastating when the climbs stretch endlessly. Isaac del Toro, young, fearless, and already strong enough to disrupt established hierarchies. And riders like Mathieu van der Poel, unpredictable and capable of turning any race upside down. Against this level of competition, Evenepoel wants to arrive with certainty. No doubts, no excuses, no feeling that something could have been done better. That is why preparation, structure and trust are non-negotiable for him. This incident may ultimately strengthen the project. Lines have been drawn. Expectations have been made explicit. Red Bull now understands the level of precision required, and Evenepoel has reaffirmed his status as a leader who demands excellence, not comfort. Remco is not racing to participate. He is racing to impose himself. And every race on his calendar is another opportunity to send that message, loud and clear.